Hello, I'm Kimberly Acosta. Welcome to this news update on Friday, January 29th. Many of the stories you hear here can be found at our website, IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the stories today from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Firefighters, medical service providers, Arizona and Nevada National Guard troops, state emergency management teams, and service organization representatives continued to pour in emergency supplies to residents stranded on the Navajo Nation and Hopi Reservation. With average snow levels reported at 4 feet across much of the reservations, which was preceded by heavy rain that saturated the soil, President Barack Obama approved an emergency declaration on January 24th that paved the way for federal aid to the area. A number of aerial missions this week have been completed to drop supplies in places unreachable by vehicles, to conduct assessments on roads and buildings, and to evacuate individuals in need of medical treatment. According to the Department of Public Safety, a flyover of reservation roads found that snow was at rooftop levels on some small buildings in some areas. As of January 26th, relief workers had delivered over 4,000 meals ready to eat, 5,000 gallons of water in collapsible containers, and 300 blankets provided by the Red Cross. The relief effort is a joint project involving the state, local governments, including the Navajo Nation and Hopi tribe. Governor Mike Rounds of South Dakota has asked the Federal Emergency Management Agency for a joint preliminary damage assessment to begin determining damages and costs associated with the recent ice storm in South Dakota. A preliminary damage assessment begins the process of determining the extent of damages and the costs incurred by the state, cities, counties, tribes, and eligible private nonprofit organizations because of the storm that struck the state last week. The request is a step in the process toward requesting a presidential disaster declaration. The storm, a strong system that brought freezing rain, ice, and blowing snow across much of South Dakota, resulted in widespread power outages, particularly in the north-central part of the state. At a point in the storm, nearly 12,000 households were without power, and a water delivery system serving a 3-county area that included the Cheyenne River Reservation was out of operation. The water system has since been returned to operation, and as of January 29th, about 2,000 people remain without electrical power. In other news, according to entries from Facebook, Native Americans across the country and their supporters from around the world flooded CNN's phone lines on January 29th, asking when they were going to report on the situation of the American Indians in North and South Dakota. I personally made the call as well and was told not only are they getting their phone lines flooded by calls, but they are working on it. And I was told that the problem was that the area was very remote and it was too remote to get a crew out there. I was also informed that if anyone had video or pictures, they are welcome to post them along with any news updates at the iReport on the CNN website. Howard Zinn, a historian and shipyard worker, civil rights activist, and World War II bombardier who inspired a generation of high school and college students to rethink American history, died January 27th at the age of 87. Zinn came to believe that the point of view expressed in traditional history books was often limited. He wrote the history textbook, A People's History of the United States, to provide other perspectives on American history. The textbook depicts the struggle of Native Americans against European and U.S. conquest and expansion, slaves against slavery, union and other workers against capitalists, women against patriarchy, and African Americans for civil rights. What they don't teach you about our history in schools was the very stuff Howard Zinn considered worth learning. His perspective of American history embraced the standpoint of the underprivileged who didn't write the history books: the workers, African Americans, slaves, immigrants, and Native Americans. The American alpine racer Lindsey Vonn held a public contest to design the helmet she will wear at the Vancouver Games. And she announced January 28th that the winning entry belonged to Laddie Lee Whitworth, a 60-year-old retired machinist from Pocatello, Idaho. 2 of the other 3 finalists were professional designers or artists, but Whitworth is an amateur artist who worked for 37 years in a cement factory. He is also a member of the Shoshone-Bannock tribe at Idaho's Fort Hall Reservation. Whitworth's design is red, white, and blue, with flames flowing from front to back, like something on the fenders of a drag racing car. There is an American flag just over the helmet's brow. When Lindsey pushes out of the Olympic start gate, "This is the people's helmet," Whitworth said. "It is for the American star at the Olympics. It's pretty symbolic." There are more than 300 entrants in the contest, and in a conference call with reporters, Vonn said that Whitworth's design reminded her of the Olympic torch and that it looked aggressive and speedy. Blockbuster movies like the recent released Avatar by James Cameron can be a huge impact on the lives of many people for an unimaginable amount of reasons. Cameron returned to the public eye again this winter with the release of Avatar, a story about a human invasion of an alien planet called Pandora, with only a handful of human heroes attempting to save the natives. It is because of this box office bombshell that Cameron has received press accusations about racism. In the Avatar argument, here states that it is the case of the Western white hero saving people of a different heritage. These accusations come with the fact that actors who played the alien Na'vi race were played by African American, Dominican, and Native American actors, while according to the Associated Press, the majority of the actors who played the human heroes were Caucasian. The opposing side claims Cameron did this not to promote this idea, but to expose to his audience the evils of racism. The latter sentiment came from Cameron himself in an email to AP. Avatar asks us to open our eyes and truly see others, respecting them even though they are different, in the hope that we may find a way to prevent conflict and live more harmoniously on this world. I hardly think that is a message of racism, Cameron wrote. According to the NFL and CBS, Carrie Underwood of Muskogee Creek will sing the national anthem as part of Super Bowl 44 pregame festivities on February 7th. This year's Super Bowl will take place at Sun Life Stadium in southern Florida and will be televised live on CBS. More than 151 million viewers in the United States watched last year's Super Bowl, the most watched televised program in history. The pregame show and Super Bowl 44 will be broadcast worldwide in more than 230 countries and territories. And that's the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me and have a grand day.